Hey, Samantha, thanks for joining us today as a way of getting started. Tell us about
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, my name is Samantha. I work for Heartland Payment Systems, so I do human capital management, which means employee management, HR, payroll, stuff like that. Live in North Carolina. I've been in my industry for about 8 years now, and yeah, love what I do.
Cool. Is that an easy job?
No, is
No,
any sales job easy?
no, no.
A lot of discipline,
Yeah.
definitely. So.
And who do you sell to within the company?
Small, medium businesses, anywhere, businesses that have clients, employees that are start at just one person all the way up to around 250. That's the range that I focus on. But yeah, lots of small businesses. I have a lot of clients that have about, we'll say 20 to 30 employees, kind of hang around there.
Yeah. And how do you find it? Is it, or what's the hardest part about it for you?
So that's kind of a twofold question. I used to work for a competitor for a while, and in that role, it was really different. It's like a lot of my competitors. They have a base salary, get nice commission pops, high five on the way out the door. Where I work now, I work kind of like an insurance agent in that I earn residuals. So my client retention is really, really important to me.
Yeah.
And that makes it really tough. I don't get supplied lists or leads or anything like that. So it's really, feet on the ground, trying to build relationships more than anything else. I think that we all have a lot of competitors. I've got at least 20 I can name. So
Sure.
what makes me different, I think, is the relationship aspect of it. And where I work now with Heartland, this company has really allowed me to focus on the relationship side, relationship selling, story-based selling. I really like that a lot. I'm a people pleaser myself. So this works a lot better for me, and I can really run my own show, but it takes a lot of discipline. So, yeah.
And people say relationships, but what does that mean to you?
So I really love my clients, and I think that can hurt me sometimes. It can be a
Yeah.
bit of a detriment because I care so much and I get really emotionally invested with them, and I become very good friends with a lot of my clients. But that's because I want them to think of me. I mean, I know I've got, again, a bunch of competitors knocking on the door, especially as we go into fourth quarter here.
Yeah.
But I want my name to be the one that they think of when they're happy, when they have an issue, whatever it is. I take great pride in having me be that person. And not every company is structured in that way such that we can allow that to happen. But relationships for me, and you're right, everybody does say it, but relationships, it takes time. I think that's a big piece of what I've had to teach myself in my career, is that this is meant for longevity. So if I'm just a transactional salesperson, that's fine. I might, get a few deals here and there, but I think it so much comes down to trust. And
Right.
so if I'm taking my time to really build those relationships, they're eventually going to reach back out to me, and I'm not going to have to keep being that stalker, annoying salesperson that we all know.
Yeah.
I mean, I just had a client reach out who I've been in communication with for 5 years, but now the time is right. And so I think that a lot of sales reps, we see turnover, and we see people leaving and quitting, and you've got to focus on that end goal. And that's really hard to do sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
And do you have a fixed territory or is it?
I don't. I'm so lucky. At the where I used to work, I did, and now I cover all 50 states. So I've got clients. I've got clients all over the place: Pennsylvania, Colorado, Virginia, West Virginia, South Carolina, California. So it's really fun. But I've worked my tail off.
And so how do you focus then? Um,
So I used to be a rower for a very long time. I was recruited to college, did that, rowed on the national team, and that taught me a lot about discipline. So how I do it is routine. And I didn't want to, I was really a kind of, I don't know if I was just being stubborn, 7 or 8 years ago or whatever. But when I first got into this role in this career with human capital management, I didn't necessarily have the discipline that I needed. I thought it was just motivation and that'll get you through. And that's not
yeah,
realistic. So for
no,
me, I learned a lot about discipline as a rower, waking up at 4:30, having that schedule set, making sure, I try to front load my days. I really like to be done with my meetings by, we'll say 3 o'clock, so that from 3 to 5, I've got time to answer the phone calls and do the admin stuff. So to answer your question, I think discipline really is a big part of it, especially on days when it's gross out and it's cold and I work from home, so I could stay in bed all day, but I'm not going to pay my bills if I do
well,
that.
does it? Clicking away.
Yeah. So yeah, discipline, I think it would be my answer for that.
But how about prioritization when you have 50, have an
Yeah.
open territory?
Yes. And I pride myself as well in answering the phone somewhat on an operational level sometimes to be able to just expedite things faster for my clients. So everything is in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
that's one of the ways that I help to keep myself organized. But in terms of prioritizing things, of course, I want the sales, I want to close deals, I want to hit the goals that I've set for myself. But one of my priorities as well is always having my phone on me, being able to answer that phone, and really act as a resource for everybody around me. It's not, I mean, we're all trying to make money and close deals and stuff, but I really believe on surrounding myself with the right people, positive people, successful people. I really like working with women because I think that we're, kind of on the rise. There's a lot of, especially in the insurance industry, there's a lot of guys. And so I really like seeing women that are stepping up into this industry and really being very bold. So I try to surround myself with people who have built their businesses up to the level that I want to be at. And I ask them for help and I ask them for mentorship. And I think coming from that angle is a lot better than, maybe you'll go visit a networking group or something and just pitch your services and that's it. They're going to ask you to leave if you do that. So and I'm very lucky to be a part of an awesome networking group where we really hold each other accountable. So prioritizing, I think my clients are always going to come first. I want my numbers to be great, but more than that, I really want my clients to stay with me. So that's a big priority for me, is making sure that my current clientele is very happy. I don't just check in once a year. That I'd lose all my clients if I did that.
Yeah. And do you segment that? Like Mondays, you do certain things, Tuesdays?
Yeah. So kind of depends where I am. I live in the Chapel Hill area of
Beautiful.
North Carolina. Yeah, I love it here. But Wednesdays I have my BNI group. So that's a Raleigh day for me. So I know that Wednesdays I'm trying to schedule meetings with clients that I specifically have in that area, and also CPAs, bookkeepers, if I'm out that way. I'll usually do once a month. I send out blast emails to specific groups of people that I think really help me and folks that I align very well with. So I send out a lot of educational stuff once a month to accountants and CPAs, and also to my insurance agents that I partner with a lot. So I try to do those types of drops or touches once a month. I really like being able to go into places physically because I think there's something to be said for the energy that you can share with people. So I do a lot of driving.
I bet.
Put a lot of miles on my car. Come out to Charlotte about once a month as well. So I'd say once a month I try to do those drops, those touches with my centers of influence. And then every 2 weeks I'm looking to always add, and I'm asking for either an insurance partner or a bookkeeper or something like that, people that are having similar conversations as me. And then Fridays for me, I work the whole day on Friday, but I really try to make sure that I'm preparing for Monday, because I get the Sunday scaries and we get very anxious and all that type of stuff. So I try to make Friday a day where I'm preparing for the week ahead. And my leadership does a great job of helping us to kind of prep for that week and make sure we're all staying focused.
And as growing as a salesperson, did you have particular milestones or epiphanies where you went from frustrated to a next level of getting it?
Yes. It was about really being honest with myself. I kind of had, I had a day, it was last February. I remember my boss was in town and I had 11 presentations, 11 in a row, and I didn't close one of them. I was like, I'm in tears. I mean, it was horrible. And so I had to sit down with myself and say, are you actually really working from 8 to 5 right now? Or are you
Busy.
stopping at 3 o'clock and getting a coffee and going home a little bit early and whatever? That's what helped me. So when I actually was really honest with myself, that's what helped. Because again, I came from a place where I was earning a salary every 2 weeks and you become complacent. So even though I think I'm working a lot harder than I did when I worked for my competitor, it's because of the way that it's structured.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of not having a base. It's a scary thing. Doesn't work for everybody. But for me, that's first and foremost. So I It's
Yeah.
constant. It's really
I'm in
constant, but it
this.
was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that epiphany is good because you start thinking like what I call a salespreneur. Like even if
Yeah.
you have a base, it's a false sense of security
Yes. Yes.
because you get 9 months to prove yourself, right? And you think you're an employee, and maybe you've been there for years, but guess
Yeah.
what? If you don't produce, you're pretty much an entrepreneur.
Right. And I think you see a lot of the turnover you see, I find, tends to be somebody jumping from higher base salary to higher base salary. And that, I mean, like it was scary to come over to Heartland because I stepped away from a lot. I stepped away from a lot of money. I had just bought my first home. I mean,
Right.
a lot of things happened, but at the end of the day, it really truly is up to me. And so if I'm not the one reaching out to my centers of influence, and if I'm the one who's quitting after just a week of getting no's, you're going to get no's all day. I mean, I've had bosses tell me, aim for no, try to get as many as you can, because then that takes the pressure off. You expect you're going to get a no, so maybe you'll get a yes, but it's that consistency, it's the discipline. And when I was really honest with myself, it was a hard moment, but I think that when I shifted to the company I'm at now, you really got to do things differently. And I wish I'd had that moment when I worked at my competitor, kind of realizing it, but it just wasn't structured that way. So
Yeah.
I think if you really focus on, it's on you at the end of the day, it
It
really
is.
is on you. You can have people help you a great deal. And I love my partners, my not just referral partners, but people that really help to keep my energy positive and forward thinking, all that stuff. That part's important, but it comes down to me at the end of the day, and that can be a really hard thing to face and be honest with yourself about.
That's it. Because when you're an employee, there's a lot of focus on efficiency instead
Yeah,
of effectiveness.
yeah,
Because when I heard about that 11 presentation day, I've worked with people who were into that. How many meetings can I have a day? And it's
right,
like, well, you don't get paid on meetings.
yeah,
You get paid on deals.
yeah,
Are any of those 11 in market?
yeah.
Are they beyond aware of what you do?
And it's also being aware of myself. I'm rereading Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that's really, I recommend that for anybody
It's the best
and
book. Yeah.
everybody. Really helping me to reevaluate and remind myself I'm the one that holds myself accountable. It only comes down to me. So I didn't used to read that many sales books. I used to watch a lot of TV and go home, watch movies, and like try to whatever. But now I've kind of limited that stuff, and I really do enjoy reading, and it does keep you fresh. So I think that the best salespeople and the ones that do really well are the ones that are constantly educating themselves, always trying to be better. Because once you become complacent, someone else is going to take your spot.
Right. It's too easy to get comfortable
Yeah,
and
especially in
avoid the
sales.
things that we should be doing. We know we should be doing.
Right, right.
And what have you seen as kind of differentiating you from a lot of people who aren't as successful?
I work a lot. I answer my phone, after hours. I think that's part of being an entrepreneur as well. And in today's society, we're a very, I want it now type of society.
Mm.
So I don't let things fall through the cracks, but I do try to move pretty quickly in terms of responding to my folks. Resiliency is also a big thing. Like I said before, you see a lot of turnover because you're either not resilient or you don't have that end goal in mind. So I think when it comes to my competitors and people who I might be able to rise above, it's because of that. It's because of that internal battle sometimes that I have with myself, but the discipline that comes from the inside, and then also the support that I choose to give myself on the outside.
Yeah. And do you have mentors within
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
do?
definitely. My boss really is not trying to be that way, but he's really great, and he really understands. He always starts at being curious, so
Yeah.
he's an amazing mentor for me. Where other bosses in past companies, I would get phone calls from them and have a panic attack because it was my boss.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I really always look forward to speaking with him. I have people that work for other companies, very, very different industries, but because they're as successful as they are, I ask them to be my mentors and I ask them for help and advice. And so I kind of have chosen my group of people around me, and they tend to be very experienced folks who have been in their industry for at least 20 years. And I feel really lucky that they've taken me under their wing, but I actively ask for that mentorship.
That's a big difference. And I think that is a key differentiator between the good and the great salespeople, because since it's a performance, you can't see yourself perform.
Yeah.
You have to get the feedback from other people. And I see in your background, the coaching part, even in rowing, which is really a grit-oriented sport, right? It's not a grace oriented. It's not gymnastics, right?
Well, it looks beautiful, but
it does,
to actually do it, it's
a lot of work.
Definitely.
Yeah, I had a friend who wanted to get a scholarship. I go, it's really just labor, isn't it?
Well, a lot of people ask me how I got into rowing, and it truly was, I have a great relationship with my parents. I love them very, very much, but financially we were raised a little bit of a different way. So I knew that it was on me to pay my way through college. Yeah. So I started rowing in 8th grade, and then I just got recruited to a bunch of schools. So that was how I started my journey there. But I've always been that way. If I want something, I'm going to do it myself, even if it takes me a little bit longer. But that's the part I have to remind myself of, that you got to stay with it.
And how do you manage kind of the what I call the roller coaster of sales? You have a good day, and then somebody calls and cancels, and then you have a bad day and
chargeback. Those are really fun.
Going backwards.
Going to my people, I've got a great coworker who I talk to at least 3 times a day, every single day. We bounce things off of each other, and the mentors that I've chosen to kind of have in my life, I'm really transparent with them. They know that I can be really invested in my clients. And then when I get told no, or I lose a deal and it stinks, I will tend to jump, because I'm very emotional. And I'm so grateful to have those mentors in place, because they always remind me, let's talk about it. It sucks, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what's going on. And if you lose them, you lose them. But let me try to help motivate you and whatever, to go find 3 more people that now you can forget about that and move on. Because that's where I do get held up a lot. I used to chase the same 5 people and why? Right. So right. I constantly have to teach myself that, to kind of distract and move on. Keep them on your list. I'm going to reach back out in 6 months, because that's what we should do. But for the time being, if it's not right for them, not necessarily that I did something wrong, it may just not be right for them, or bad luck, or whatever happens. But if you can move on, that's the most important part. So during those dips, sometimes I do let myself, take the afternoon and kind of restructure and think about things. But for the most part, it's reaching out to those people when I'm feeling really low, because I think any salesperson can agree it is a roller coaster. It can get really low, but I think it's what you do to be resilient and bring yourself out of that and move on.
And I think that the key point I heard there was talking to other people, but not water cooler talk, not explaining how bad and impossible this is.
Right. And the coworker who I had mentioned, I love her, because we're really good at calling each other out. We'll have these, moments of, oh, this stinks and whatever. And then we'll both be like, hold on. I can feel it. I can feel it getting dark and getting deep. Yeah. Switch it. Talk to me about what you're working on today. Let's talk about something else. So I feel lucky that I can do that, because in the beginning, so you got to take what you can get. But now I'm being a little bit more direct with people in terms of, these are the types of businesses I want to go after, and here's why, because I really feel like I can help them specifically. So that's where I want to go from here, is just being able to keep doing this and expand across the country. And of course, I would love to be able to say I've got a client in every single state. So just trying to stay consistent and keep going.
Is this the type of business you can build a team under you, or is it always going to be an individual contributor?
I could if I wanted to. And I love that they have that option. But I think for me, if I get to that point one day where I want to have people underneath me, that's great. And I have that option. But it's really exciting to be on my own journey, and it's a lot to hold yourself accountable. To think about managing other people right now where I'm at, I don't think it's the right fit for me, but I would love to, once I kind of even out with my stuff, be able to then have the time to help other people. But coaching, rowing, I mean, that was a huge part of my life. And I love it. I love coaching. I'm so passionate about it. So.
Yeah. And do you still row as a way of
I go out
exercise?
on the water when I can. It's it's tough when you're working. So I used to be coaching, I guess what you would consider full time for a coach. I'm not at that level anymore, just because when I came over here, I really put everything into this. So I go out for fun. I help people with coaching when they need it. I actually coach at Raleigh CrossFit from time to time, helping those guys learn how to use the rowing machine. So it's still in my life. And I'm hoping that, in 10 years or so, I'll be able to actually start my own crew. So that would be fun.
Yeah. And is this the type of business that does compound as opposed to the employee where it gets reset every year?
Oh yeah. Our pay plan hasn't changed since 1999, I don't think. So, so we have goals, but it's really, really nice. Cause again, where I came from a world where it changed every year. And I love your videos when you joke about that. So, oh, you're making money? No, you got to bring it back down. Okay. But so I feel lucky that it's uncapped. So it's the more clients I have, the higher my residuals are every month. So I want my book to be filled, of course, but really filled with people that care and that want to connect with me. I wasted a lot of time going after people that
don't care.
It's just money. Are you cheaper? And if that's the type of person that I'm working with, we're not going to be a good fit. It may not even be worth having a conversation. I'll tell you to stay where you're at. If you really want to work with someone who values what she does and works very hard, answers her phone, and you want to have that relationship, then we should talk. But I think a big piece is knowing your audience and knowing, all right, maybe that sounded like a good idea. They're not interested. What else am I going to fill this with? I'm not going to let this ruin the rest of my day. How am I going to fill this with 5 brand new people that I can now go talk to and share my energy with? So
I think that's critical because I think too many people spread the net way too wide.
Yeah.
If you find, okay, I fit this group of people, let me find, because that group of people is still huge.
Right.
They value the service. They value someone who's going to be there, expedite it. They're not looking to save $1 here, $1 there.
Right.
Because not saving anything because they're.
Oh, it's always expensive to be cheap in the end.
It always is in every way. Now, if you were to start your sales career all over, what would you done differently?
Found my mentors more early on, and also pulled away from that culture of just ultra competitive sales. I think there's something to be said for challenging yourself, but if you allow yourself, or if you're in an environment where it's in the office and the water cooler stuff, I'm very lucky I don't have an office that I go into, so it helps me a lot, but I'm very independent. And so for some people, they need that office. But for me, if I had to start over again, it would be finding my mentors earlier and not being afraid to ask for help earlier, because I was terrified. And then something happened when I turned 30 that was like, you know what, if you want this to happen, you need to actually ask for help. It's not, one of the most successful people I know who, gosh, I mean, I aspire to be like this guy. He always says, these things take time, Samantha. It takes time. I have a beach house because I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm like, well, I want a beach house. But so now my goal, that's one of my goals. So I keep them on my bathroom mirror. It looked like a psycho if you saw my bathroom, but I've got stuff written all over the mirror because I need to see that every day. So yeah, I think just consistency, discipline, all that stuff, but finding my mentors earlier and really figuring out my process and identifying good clients, good prospects, people that I should be going after versus chasing. I spent a lot of my first few years chasing, and I wish I hadn't done that.
Right. And I bet in your business, it's how do you manage it from not being 100% service, meaning, people have issues that could take up your whole day.
Yes. And I struggle with that a lot. And I'm one of, I don't know how many reps do this, but I do know that I spend a lot of time servicing, and I have a great team of people behind me that do that sit behind the computers and do the payroll, but I'm there. They know my phone number. So if they send me a text or they call me, I am going to expedite it and I am going to take care of it. And that's going to become my priority, usually that moment. So it's a balance. Again, I have a great service team, but I don't know, again, being 2019, being an entrepreneur, whatever you want to say, it's that instant gratification. So even if I can't solve your problem that day, my clients know and have faith that I will solve it by the time frame I've told them I'll solve it.
Yeah.
So just being able to do that, but it's such a balance with the service, and I struggle with that a lot. So I mean, I guess I could probably have maybe one more deal a month or something if I let go of some of that, day-to-day service stuff. But the way that I see it is I'd rather spend my time helping them because they might know someone. So then
That's
I have
it.
the opportunity to do a good job. And then later you can ask, hey, if you've been happy with me, do you know those guys up the street? Or, who
Yeah.
else do you think would really, really like working with me? So I'd rather do it that way.
Well,
And people are going to give you different answers for that, but I'm a lot more focused on, I got to keep my clients. So I do have to do a lot with service, and I choose to do that. So.
okay. And for those people who are listening and could use your service, how would
Yeah,
they get in touch with you?
definitely. So I'm on LinkedIn, Samantha, and last name's a little tricky because it's French, but Chauveau. I'm not on Facebook because I used to be, but I found that to be a bit of a distraction for me, actually. So I'm not on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My username is Coaching Problems on Instagram. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way to get up with me.